Mishnah Zayin. Ein motzi'im et ha'or b'yom tov. Oh. So even though up to now we discussed burning, it says you're not allowed to make fire on Yom Tov. You're allowed to transfer fire on Yom Tov.
Or.
Yeah, or means fire.
Fire?
Yeah. You're not allowed to make fire on Yom Tov. How? Lo min ha'etzim. You're not allowed to make it from the wood. What do you mean? Take two pieces of wood, rub it against each other. You've seen it. Until, not allowed to do it. שמשפשפים אותם זה בזה ויוצאת מהם אש. That you rub them against each other, they become heat, and then you see some smoke come, and then it makes a coal. So that you're not allowed to do it. ולא מן האבנים, neither you're allowed to do it from stones. What do you mean from stones? You know, like two stones together makes a smoke. שטוחנים אבן באבן עד שזה מהם אש, that you hit one stone to another until a spark comes out. ולא מן האפר. And not from the Efer. I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about, but it might be that they had like volcanic ashes, it's called, that has a lot of sulfur in it. And if you start digging in it, in other words, a chemical reaction. You make a chemical reaction and then fire starts. I don't know exactly what the chemical reaction that used to happen over there, but today you can make a chemical reaction, take two things, make chemical reaction, it starts a fire, like a battery. You know, can catch a fire, something. ולא מן האפר הקשה שחופרים אותו ומוציא אש. That when you mix it together, the two ingredients, it makes a fire. ולא מן המים. And you're not allowed to make it from water. How do you make water? You take a drop of water, you put it in the sun, and you know, like זכוכית מגדלת, yeah. ולא מן המים. היינו זכוכית מלאה מים, you take a cup full of water, שמניחים אותה כנגד עין השמש, that you put it against the sun, וכשהזכוכית מתחממת מביאים נאורת, and when this glass becomes hot, you take some material that burns easily, וכשזה נוגעת בזכוכית היא נדלקת, and when it touches the fire, the cup, it catches up. כל זה אסור, all this is prohibited, מפני שמוליד, because you're making something new. היינו, ממציא את האש ביום טוב. You make new fire. In other words, you're not to transfer fire, you're not to make something new. ולא הותר ביום טוב, אלא להדליק מאש מצויה. The only thing that is permitted in יום טוב is to transfer fire, not to make new fire. ואין מלבנים באש את הרעפים. This is a good one. You remember the fish that we have said together? So you made, before you took clay, and you made tiles for the roof from the clay, but you didn't burn them yet. It's just the shape you have. So you say, I'm going to use that shape in order to do my fish. To cook the fish. He says, you're not allowed to, because after the cooking of the fish, you just made a tile. So don't use the tile in order to make fish. Yeah. ואין מלבנים באש את הרעפים. Don't put the clay in the fire. העשויים לכסות בהם את הגגות. If there are tiles that you're going to use for a roof, לתלות בהם, to cook in them. בגמרא מבואר, the Gemara obviously explains, שמדובר ברעפים חדשים. We're talking about new clay, new things, שהטעם שאין מלבנים בהם, that the reason that you don't cook in them, לפי שמתחזקים על ידי ליבון, והרי זה תיקון כלי. Because they make it stronger, and you're creating the jug. ועוד אמר רבי אליעזר, רבי אליעזר continued and said, נוסף על מה ששינינו לעיל במשנה ו', he says, besides the fact, Rabbi Eliezer is the guy that says that you're allowed to do all the things, that sages don't agree with him, yeah? נוסף מה שרבי אליעזר מקל בעינם כיסם בגיבוב ביום טוב, he permits you to make toothpicks and to pick up from the entire yard, אומר עוד כולה, he says another leniency he has, עומד אדם על המוקצה, he says, you remember you have this place, it's called muktzeh, where you keep all your stuff. עומד אדם על המוקצה, so a person stands on the מוקצה, מקום ששוטחים בו תאנים וענבים כדי לייבשם, it's a place where it is guarded, fruit guardian place. ערב שבת בשביעית, he stands there just before Shabbat on the 7th year, בשנת השמיטה שאין מעשר נוהג בה, this is a Shemitah year that there's no tithing in it, ואומר, and he says, מכאן אני אוכל מחר. He says, in other words, he can prepare, he says, from here I'm allowed to eat from tomorrow. And remember, we had two opinions. Yeah? We're going to see, שהזמנה זו, because just saying, anywhere in this way, it doesn't have to say this specific one. Anywhere. שהזמנה זו מועילה לו שיהיה מותר לאכול מאותם התאנים או הענבים בשבת. That this is enough to tell that he's allowed to eat from the entire figs, entire grapes on Shabbos.
How? He can pick them.
It's not picked. It's
already.
Yeah. But even though it's a muktzeh. Yeah, but it's a muktzeh. But he's I have in mind this. והוא הדין לכל שנה שרשאי הוא לעשות כן. And it is, the entire year is allowed to do this. אם הוא מעשר את הפירות מערב שבת, as long as he tithes it from before Shabbat, obviously. אבל משנתנו נקטה ערב שבת בשביעי, our Mishnah specifically took this specific case that is in the 7th year, לפי שסתם מוקצה אינה מאוסר, because usually the מוקצה you do not tithe. You tithe, when you bring it back home, then you start tithing it. שאין רגילים לאשר קודם גמר מלאכה, because you didn't finish the work. You have figs, you make a cake from the figs, then you start the tithing. ואם כן, לא תועיל הזמנת מערב שבת. So therefore, in usual case, it doesn't help you to do from before Shabbat. שהרי אסורים באכילה משום טבע, because in usual case, they will be forbidden to eat because you didn't tithe it yet. But in the 7th year, you don't need to tithe, because it's a Shemitah year. That's why he gives this case. But it means every Shabbat. שהשבת קובעת למעשרות, אבל בשנת השמיטה אין מעשרים את הפירות. מותר אכלם בשבת, אם זה בערב שבת. That's why I give this specific case. But in our case, it means any Shabbat.
One Shabbos in 7 years.
Yeah, exactly. וחכמים אומרים, חכמים says, forget about it. Like we say, like all the time, the Mishnah usually that we read is not like not like the sages. Chachamim says, no, you have to mark which ones you're going to take. You have to know. I'm taking this one, or this one, or this one. You cannot just say everything. חכמים אומרים, the sage just says, עד שירשום ויאמר מכאן ועד כאן. It says you have to have a designated place. From this place to there, that's what I'm going to eat. You have to have in your mind, only these ones I'm taking. אינו רשאי לאכול בשבת מן הפירות שהוקצו כדי לייבשם. He's not allowed to eat on Shabbat from the fruits that you separated, אלא אם כן סימן את מקום הפירות שיקח הנחלה שבת. Only if he has a specific ones in mind. He had to make the sign. יש מפרשים, there are those who explains, שטעם המחלוקת, that where's the disagreement, שרבי אליעזר סובר, יש ברירה. He says, you're allowed to separate. כלומר, כשנוטל מן הפירות בשבת, אנו אומרים שהוברר הדבר למפרע, שאותם פירות שנטל לזמנם בערב שבת. He says, look, the ones I'm taking, that's the one I thought about. What are you thinking? Which one do you think I'm going to take? Obviously, I'm taking the ones I was thinking about. Yeah? וחכמים סוברים, אין ברירה. And חכמים says, you cannot separate. Yeah. לפיכך צריך לרשום ולומר מערב שבת מכאן וכמה אני אוכל למחר. Now he allows you to separate on Shabbat. חכמים don't allow you to separate on Shabbat. I said that is the מחלוקת. And therefore you're allowed to take only these and not other ones because we don't want to separate. Up to here.